equals it was an ordinary Wednesday when everything began to unravel. The sky hung low and gray over Riverview, Oregon, like an oppressive blanket. I pulled my long, dark hair into a loose bun and stared into the mirror, the reflection staring back barely resembling the person I used to be. My hazel eyes looked tired, with shadows lingering beneath them, remnants of restless nights filled with anger instead of sleep. Today was not just any Wednesday. Today was the day I would take the first step toward reclaiming my life. My phone buzzed on the counter, pulling me away from my thoughts. It was my best friend, Nora. "Hey, Harper, did you get my message about lunch? Remember we were supposed to go to that new cafe?" I sighed, running my fingers over the cracked wall of my small kitchen. "Hey, Nora, yeah, I got it. I might have to take a rain check, though, just not feeling it today." "What? No way, you need to get out." "It has been ages since we did anything fun," she insisted, her voice a mix of excitement and concern. I could picture her on the other end, her curly blonde hair bouncing as she animatedly waved her hands. "I really just want to stay in," I responded, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on my shoulders. "I mean, could you understand if I want to skip out on the world for just another day?" "Harper, come on, you can't hide away forever." "You know what happened wasn't your fault," she said, her words laced with encouragement. But the truth was, it was hard to shake that feeling of guilt, that feeling of being the one who could have stopped it, the one who should have seen the signs. "I know, I don't know if I can face everyone yet. Just come for a little while. I promise I will bring you home afterwards. Please." Nora had a way of softening the sharp edges of my despair with her unwavering spirit. I still hesitated, looking out the window at the gloomy street. But then I thought about how I hadn't left my apartment much in the past month, except for necessary errands. "Okay, okay, give me an hour," I capitulated, a hint of a smile playing on my lips. "Sweet, see you then." I put the phone down, already feeling a mixture of dread and excitement swelling in my chest. Hour later, I stood in front of my bedroom mirror again, this time with the deep navy sweater that hugged my curves comfortably. I paired it with my favorite jeans, the ones that used to make me feel confident. But I could not shake the feeling of inadequacy that wrapped around me like a heavy cloak. As I left my apartment, I stepped onto the street, smothered by the pervasive silver clouds. The world outside felt both foreign and familiar, as though I was peering through a veil at the life I once lived. I walked to the cafe, the sidewalk slick with remnants of last night's rain, soaking in the sounds around me. The squawk of a crow, the rumble of distant traffic, laughter fluttering like birds from groups of people huddled outside stores. Each step resonated with my heartbeat, a reminder that I was alive even when I felt otherwise. When I entered the cafe, the warmth enveloped me, laced with the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee and sweet pastries. I scanned the room until my gaze landed on Nora sitting at a cozy corner table, her bright smile cutting through the dullness of my day. "You made it. I was beginning to think you'd bottle yourself up forever," she said, jumping to her feet and pulling me into a tight hug. I inhaled her friendly lavender scent, letting the simple act of human connection bring a flicker of comfort. "Sorry, just needed a little push. I haven't been myself lately, you know." I admitted, sliding into the chair opposite her. The chatter in the cafe ebbed into a dull background noise as I focused on my friend, her enthusiasm contrasting with the heaviness weighing on me. "I get that. It's okay to take your time, but you've got to let the world in again. It's beautiful outside. We should enjoy it." She waved a hand toward the window, where droplets danced down the glass, keeping pace with my racing thoughts. "What do you want to eat?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with energy. "I'll get us pastries and coffee. How does that sound?" "That sounds perfect. Thank you," I replied, grateful for her eagerness to pull me back into life. As she got up to approach the counter, I scanned the cafe, my gaze landing on a group of young people in the far corner, their laughter bubbling over like the sweet drinks they sipped. How easy they made it seem to embrace life. Unlike me, recently scarred and fragile. I took a deep breath, the comforting scent of baked goods filling my senses, and I felt a gentle presence beside me. "Mind if I sit?" a soft voice asked. I turned to find a barista, a young woman with striking turquoise hair and piercing blue eyes, smiling at me. "Sure," I said, sensing her kind-heartedness radiating through her tattooed arms. "I'm Elsie, by the way." "Harper," I replied, offering a weak smile. "Nice to meet you, Harper. You look a bit pensive. Everything all right?" It was a simple question, but I felt a rush of vulnerability overwhelm me. I hadn't precisely signed up for deep conversations today, but I found myself nodding. "Just, life out here sometimes feels heavier than it should." "Totally get that, trust me. Sometimes life throws curveballs, huh?" she said with a sympathetic smile. I felt the tension in my shoulders ease slightly with her understanding tone. "Yes, it certainly does. I almost forgot how to enjoy even the small things." "Like coffee and pastries, it doesn't get better than that." Elsie pointed toward the display case filled with pastries. "Have you tried the raspberry scone? It's like a fresh burst of joy in your mouth." I chuckled softly. "I think I'll take your recommendation. It's been too long since I had something sweet." Good choice, I'll get out of your hair now, she said cheerfully. I watched her walk away and felt a strange sense of reassurance wash over me. Perhaps there was hope for me to rejoin this world, one small step at a time. Just then, Nora returned with a tray piled high with fluffy pastries and steaming mugs of coffee. She set it down with a flourish, her eyes sparkling with mischief. I have your favorite, and I got extra scones just in case. You really are the best, I said, feeling a genuine smile break across my face as the warmth of friendship seeped back into my heart. I gladly accepted the warm cup, wrapping my fingers around it as the steam tickled my nose. I ditched the office for this. Can you believe it? She said with a smirk. You're going to get fired one day because of me? Not if it means I get to see more of you, she shot back, her enthusiasm infectious. Besides, I think tripping over work is part of my charm. I don't know if charm is the word I would use, I teased, shaking my head and taking a sip of the aromatic coffee. The warmth spread through me, battling the chill of the day. We chatted about everything and nothing, laughter bubbling between us. However, as the afternoon dragged on, my thoughts began to drift. I couldn't help but recall the events of the last few months that had created such an impenetrable barrier between me and the world. A final conversation cut through my daydreams, barely a whisper in the wind, but it hit me like a rolling stone. Harper, Roy had said, his voice oddly calm that day, we need to talk. Months ago, as the sun poured its golden rays through the windows of the small apartment we shared, it hadn't occurred to me that our love could falter in such an unavoidable way. Roy had been my rock, my partner, but that morning the weight of his words had made the world come crashing down. What's wrong? I had asked, my heart racing, unsure of what dread was about to unfold. I just don't think this is working anymore. Not the way we hoped. How can you say that? I had felt tears burning at the corners of my eyes, fighting back the pain. We can fix things, can't we? Roy's gaze was a mixture of sorrow and resolution. It isn't about fixing, it's about realizing when something is broken. His words reverberated in my mind like a haunting melody. My eyes had burned with angry tears. You want to walk away after everything? I love you too much to stay, Harper. You are so much stronger than you think, and I believe you deserve better than what I can offer. I had felt that scream boiling beneath my skin. How dare he? How could he decide my worth? But love, the kind of love we talked about forever, took a savage and unyielding turn. The taste of bitterness washed over me now, just as the familiar sweetness of the coffee lingered on my tongue. My emotions spun like autumn leaves caught in a gust. I didn't want to think of Roy or what he did after leaving me. No, this was the beginning of my story, one where I would reclaim who I was and what I would become. Harper, are you with me? Nora asked, pulling me back into the moment with her voice, concern etching lines across her cheerful face. Did you just drift off to another planet? Sorry, just thinking, I murmured, forcing myself to stay grounded in the moment, even when shadows of the past loomed eerily close. You sure you're okay? You seem miles away. I'm okay, just a rough few months, you know. I gave her my best attempt at a reassuring smile, hoping it would convince both her and myself. Yeah, I get it. We all have baggage. Yours just happens to weigh a little more right now. A pang of guilt shot through me. How could I unload my burdens on her? She was a light in my darkness, and I didn't want to drag her down. But I'm working on it, I promise. Harper, it is okay to lean on me, Nora said gently. I nodded, grateful that she'd stay by my side. I could already feel little sparks of my hope igniting again, and that made the weight just a little lighter. Well, tell me, what is your plan to tackle this life baggage? I'm dying to know, maybe I could help. Plan? What plan? I chuckled, feeling a smile break free like a long-held secret. First, detox from the sad moments, which means I might start with grocery shopping without crying. Second, not letting the mistakes of yesterday define my tomorrow. That's a solid plan, my friend, Nora said, her eyes sparkling with determination. You can do this, I believe in you. And somehow in that moment I felt it too. That tingle of courage whispered through me, urging me on. After all, I had made a promise to myself. I would not just survive. I would rise again, stronger than before, fueled not by pain, but by an unyielding desire for justice. I had spent the entire day drowning in my thoughts, feeling the weight of anger and betrayal pressing on my chest like an anvil. The sun hung low in the Oregon sky, casting long shadows that danced upon the wooden floorboards of my apartment as if they knew the turmoil that was brewing within me. I paced back and forth, the hardwood creaking under my worn-out sneakers, a rhythmic backdrop to the chaos clashing in my mind. I could still see Chad's mocking smile as he stood with his new girlfriend, Brianna, oblivious to the storm he had unleashed in my heart. How could he move on so effortlessly while I was left picking up the shattered pieces of trust and love that he had so carelessly trampled? Clenching my fists, I glanced at the stack of photographs on the small wooden table by the window, memories that now felt like daggers. It was 9 in the evening, and the warm light of the lamp cast a soft glow, but inside I was anything but warm. I caught a glimpse of myself in the reflection of the glass. My dark hair fell in loose curls, framing a face flushed with a mixture of sadness and fury. Pull it together, Harper, I whispered to myself, trying to ignite that spark of resolve that had been flickering like a dying flame. Just then, the sound of a knock echoed through the quietness of my apartment, startling me. My heart raced as I moved cautiously to the door, unsure of who would visit at such an hour. I opened it to reveal Emily, my best friend since childhood, standing there with a concerned expression etched across her face. Hey, she said softly, pushing a few strands of hair behind her ear. I thought I might find you here. Can we talk? Sure, come in, I replied, stepping aside and allowing her to enter. Emily's presence always had a grounding effect on me, and I hoped it would work today as well. As she settled onto my worn out couch, I sat across from her, tucking my feet under me. You look like you could use a friend, she said, her eyes searching my face. I heard about Chad and Brianna. Are you okay? No, I'm not okay. I mean, how can I be? I snapped, anger bubbling just beneath the surface. He was supposed to be the one M. I trusted him, and now he's waving his new relationship in my face like it's a trophy. The more I spoke, the more the bitterness seeped into my voice. Emily leaned forward, her brow furrowing with empathy. I know it hurts, Harper, but you are so much better off without him. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. You deserve someone who values you. I huffed, crossing my arms defensively. Easy for you to say. You weren't the one cheated on. How can I just forget all our plans and dreams? What do you mean, forget? Emily countered gently. You don't have to forget. You need to remember who you are outside of that relationship. Focus on you. What makes you happy? I sighed deeply, frustration mounting. I thought I was happy with him. We had everything planned. How do I just let that go? Emily took a deep breath, her voice steady. You don't have to let it go right away, just take it one step at a time. But some people might respond to betrayal in different ways. What are you getting at? I raised an eyebrow, crossing my arms tighter as a chill ran down my spine. She hesitated a moment, biting her lip. I mean, some people decide they want revenge. Words hung in the air like smoke from an extinguished fire, causing my heart rate to quicken. I could practically see the wheels turning in her mind, questions rushing through the air. Revenge? I found myself saying, a hint of intrigue creeping into my voice, fueling the anger already raging inside of me. Yes, not in a violent way, of course. I just mean you could show him you're strong and you can move on, too. Sure, but how? I leaned forward, the idea stirring something within me, kind of a thrill. What do I even have? I could get back at him, but is that just petty? Sometimes a little pettiness feels empowering, she said with a shrug, a mischievous grin beginning to form on her lips. What if you make him realize he lost someone amazing? Something to give him second thoughts? There was a spark in her eyes, and it was contagious. What are you suggesting? My heart raced faster, my mind racing ahead, her grin widened. I saw pictures of Brianna online. She seems to love showing off her life, the parties, the outfits. Maybe you could do the same? Show him that you're thriving without him? I considered it, my heart pounding. You think that would work, just flaunting my life? People are visual. If he sees you living your best life, it could make him regret his choices. Her voice took on a teasing lilt. And plus, you might actually start feeling better about yourself. I couldn't help but chuckle softly at the thought, the image in my mind almost absurdly empowering. The idea of turning the tables made my chest fill with a sort of audacity I hadn't known existed. You're onto something, Em. I can definitely show him what he's missing. My fingers tingled with anticipation at the thought of taking control. Exactly, she said, her enthusiasm infectious. Post some pictures on social media. Get out there. Don't put your life on hold because of his foolishness. Yeah, maybe I can start with that charity event next week. I mused, finding the idea blossoming deep inside me like a morning bloom. I could really shine there, let him see how I've moved on. Yes, that is perfect, Harper. Show him you can be the life of the party with or without him. She leaned back, a proud smile spreading across her face. But what if he doesn't care? I asked, that familiar doubt creeping back in like an unwanted shadow. What if he's already too busy with Brianna to even notice? Emily looked serious, her tone growing softer. If he doesn't care, that's his loss. But deep down, he will notice. Men like Chad always think they can have it all and not lose anything. Her words struck a chord. For the first time, I envisioned partially how Chad might look through his phone, see a picture of me at that event, surrounded by laughter and smiles, and maybe even a handsome guy at my side. It was almost intoxicating to think of him feeling a tight knot of regret in his stomach. Maybe you're right, I said, the corners of my mouth tugging up in anticipation. Trust me on this, and I'll help you with everything, the outfit, the photos, the captions, just you wait. Emily was practically giddy, her excitement spilling over into contagious laughter. As our chatter filled the room, the tension in my heart began to dissipate, replaced by the thrill of potential. For the first time since everything had turned upside down, I felt a flicker of power. Perhaps Chad was about to learn a lesson he wouldn't forget, and I would emerge from this stronger than I had ever been before. Soon, we were planning more than just a social media comeback. We were scheming to show the world, and Chad, that Harper Martinez was not merely a victim of betrayal. The room pulsed with laughter and ideas, and with every word I found myself leaving behind the ghost of who I had been just a few days ago. As we came up with strategies, I felt like a phoenix ready to rise from the ashes, my mind swirling with possibilities. I would make my presence known. I would remind him who he had cast aside, a woman full of fire and ambition, an unapologetically fierce force to be reckoned with. KM, when do we start? I asked, my voice now drumming with eagerness. Let's put this plan into action ASAP. How about tomorrow? We can hit the thrift stores to find the perfect outfit for the event. Do you think I can really make him regret it? I asked, searching her eyes for assurance. Absolutely. And remember, it is not just about him. It is about you reclaiming your power, she replied reassuringly. I nodded, feeling emboldened by her words. You are right. I can do this. I will do this. Chad is going to see what he lost, one way or another. In that moment, my anger transformed into a bubbling excitement, igniting a fire within me that I was determined to let burn bright. The bitterness was fading, and instead, a fierce resolve began to take shape. It was time to take control and craft my own narrative. I would show him that I was not someone he could easily forget, not someone he could toss aside lightly. And this was just the beginning. The fluorescent lights of the diner buzzed above me, casting a harsh glare on the cracked vinyl booth where I sat. I could feel the heat of the coffee cup seeping into my palms, the rich aroma swirling with memories I was fighting to suppress. I stared at the chipped white mug, the way my reflection wavered within it, and I could almost hear the echoes of my laughter from the times things were different. That was before the betrayal, before the suffocating weight of secrets buried under a facade of friendship had twisted everything into something dark. I took a deep breath and glanced around, trying to tame the chaos of emotions that threatened to spill over. The diner was mostly empty at this hour, save for a couple of truckers huddled over their plates of greasy pancakes and an older woman in the corner feeding scraps to a scraggly dog, which reminded me of my own. My heart panged at the thought. My life had once been cozy, filled with simple joys. I could even hear my sister's laughter in my head, the way she would mock me when I got overly serious. But that laughter had grown distant now, suffocated by the shadows cast by betrayal. Deciding I needed a distraction, I took a more substantial sip of coffee. The bitter liquid burned my throat but invigorated me. I could not let myself drown in memories not meant for today. Today was about action, about finally confronting my enemies. A glance at my watch reminded me I had just under an hour. My resolve tightened like the leather strap of my watch against my wrist. I was ready. Suddenly, the bell above the door jingled and I felt my heart jump. There he was, Lucas, my former best friend. His tall frame filled the entrance, the light catching the angles of his face just right, his tousled hair somehow managing to look effortless. But beneath that charming exterior was a man I felt only loathing for. I had to remind myself not to be fooled by the facade. Not again. This confrontation was necessary. Revenge flickered in my veins like a hidden fire waiting for fuel. As Lucas ambled over to my booth, a slow smile curled on his lips, and I could feel the familiar surge of anger bubbling just beneath my calm surface. Harper, I didn't think I would find you here, he said, sliding into the seat across from me. He wore that ridiculous leather jacket, the one we used to joke about. There he was smug, self-assured, and completely unaware of the tempest brewing beneath my surface. Funny, I didn't think you would either, I replied, my voice steady, devoid of emotion. What's with the tone? I almost thought you were mad at me, he said playfully, running a hand through his hair, a gesture that always made him seem more boyish. I narrowed my eyes, feeling the warmth of old sparks weave through me, but quickly quashed them. I'm mad at you, I stated firmly, the words tasting like metal on my tongue. The weight of the truth settled between us like a thick fog, his smile faltered just slightly. Listen, things happened, I didn't mean. I don't care about your excuses, Lucas. I interrupted, my heart galloping at the thought of unveiling the layers of betrayal. You chose them. His eyebrows knit together, surprise flickering across his face. You are still holding on to that. I thought we had moved on. I thought we were friends. Friends, is that what you call tossing me aside for a traitor? You wonder why I'm angry? Fury pooled in my gut, heavy and tangible. It was a mistake, he insisted, his voice rising a notch. I didn't think, that's the problem. You don't think, you never have, you don't care how your decisions affect others. I inhaled sharply, able to hear the tremble in my voice as I tried to rein in my emotions, the memories swirling like a storm. It was quiet now, his eyes studying mine, searching for something. I was unsure if he was seeking empathy or simply trying to charm me back into surrender. Look, Harper, I know I messed up, he finally said, his tone shifting to something softer, more sincere. But can't we just what? I shot back, leaning forward. Pretend everything is fine while you laugh behind my back with her? His facade broke for a moment, and I could see the flicker of shame tugging at the corners of his mouth. You don't know the whole story, he said, leaning back against the booth, suddenly defensive. Maybe because you never bothered to tell me, I snapped, the venom in my voice filling the space between us. And what do you want me to say? I am sorry? Do you really think that words can fix this? His words came out clipped, but I could hear the frustration simmering beneath. Do you think just saying sorry is enough? When you tossed away 10 years of friendship for account of marital disputes and idle gossip, I felt heat rush to my cheeks as the anger surged like a tidal wave. His gaze lowered. I wasn't thinking straight, Harper. We had all been drinking, and Jessica, she was sweet on me. I thought I could. Sweet on you? That's your excuse? I could hardly believe it. Lucas, you were my best friend. You betrayed me for a fling? Yes, a stupid mistake. He admitted finally, crossing his arms defensively. But you can't continue to hold this over my head forever. Maybe I should. Maybe holding on to this anger is the only way I know how to breathe now. I fought to maintain eye contact, the tension thick enough to slice through with a knife. He frowned, a shadow passing over his face. Then what's your plan? I tilted my head, letting the question hang in the air. It was the first time he had asked me this directly, and a part of me wondered if he understood the weight of that question. Would he comprehend the consequences his choices had unleashed? My plan, I repeated, the ghost of a smile creeping onto my lips. My plan is to make sure you feel every ounce of the pain you have caused me. Harper, he began, but I cut him off. No, let me finish. You have a talent for charm, Lucas, but charm does not fix broken trust. The day you betrayed me, you lost my friendship and the love I once had for you. There's no patching this up with a few pretty words. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, the adrenaline coursing through me, but it felt exhilarating. He opened his mouth again, probably to breathe some more excuses, but I held up a hand, silencing him. I am not here for you to plead or justify yourself. I am here to serve you an honest dose of what mistakes can lead to. You have not only broken me, you've shattered everything good we built. Harper, let's not do this here, he said, urgency slipping back into his voice. Let's not turn a friendly meeting into an accusation session. Friendly? You think this is friendly? My laugh was hollow and cutting. This isn't friendly, Lucas. This is me taking my power back. He leaned closer now, his eyes narrowing with fierce intent. Then what do you want? I want you to know how your choices led to someone getting hurt. I want you to experience the dark corners of remorse instead of just hiding behind your charm. He looked pained, the mask cracking, which sent a rush of satisfaction through me. I'd spent too long feeling weak, feeling the burden of betrayal weigh heavy on my shoulders. Seeing him face the consequences, even if only a fraction of them, felt like a small victory. You are going to ruin everything we had, he said softly, as if the weight of his own regret was pulling him down. What we had is already ruined, I replied, lowering my voice just enough to ensure he understood the gravity of my words. What you had is nothing compared to what you will lose. If you think this was just me aiming to rekindle something that had died long ago, you are sorely mistaken. Then what do you propose? Revenge? He scoffed, leaning back in his seat as if the notion was laughable. Yes, revenge, I replied plainly, the word rolling off my tongue like a mantra. But not in the way you think. His brows furrowed in confusion. What are you planning? I smiled, feeling a rush of anticipation course through me. You'll find out soon enough, Lucas. And with that, I stood up, leaving my empty coffee mug behind, the scent of memories swirling silently in my wake. The gnawing sense of satisfaction broke free as I walked toward the door. There was power within me that I had forgotten existed. I'd pulled the veil aside and unveiled the truth, a truth he would have to face. As I stepped outside, the cool air brushed against my skin, vibrant with life, and I realized that the hardest part of this war was over. Now, the real battle would begin. The shadows were gathering in the late afternoon light as I approached the old train yard on the outskirts of Riverview. I felt like a ghost slipping through a world that had moved on without me, one that had left its memories tangled in the rusting metal and overgrown weeds. I replayed the last couple of weeks in my head, the thrill that had surged within me when I had first soaked in the reality of my vengeance, each day further removing me from the girl I used to be. Today was different, though. I could feel it in my bones, like a storm brewing on the horizon. This was the day I had planned to confront Mia, to pull the trigger on all those feelings I had buried so deep for so long. The rattle of the train cars was soft, a haunting lullaby that intertwined with the whispers of the wind, evoking a sense of nostalgia that was almost suffocating. Every creak of metal seemed to remind me of the promises I had made to myself, the vows I had sworn to uphold, the path I had chosen. Losing Adam felt like losing part of my very essence. I craved justice. No, not justice. I craved revenge, and Mia was the one I needed to face to reclaim my peace. I could almost feel her eyes burning into the back of my head with invisible daggers, the betrayal still fresh and raw. This is it, Harper, I murmured to myself under my breath. Longing for a final confrontation, I stepped cautiously onto the gravel, my heart pounding as I kicked a small rock, watching it fly sideways, shattering the stillness of the afternoon. The fading sunlight painted the sky in an array of purples and oranges, the beauty juxtaposed against the turmoil swelling in my chest. This was the place where Mia and I had forged our dreams, but now it felt like a battlefield, each train car standing like a soldier awaiting orders, scarred from years of neglect. Then I spotted her. She was sitting on the edge of a rusty train car, her legs dangling off the side, playing with the frayed edges of her denim shorts. My heart raced not with a sense of fear, but with a sense of odd exhilaration. The last time we had been like this, it had been filled with laughter and dreams. Now the air of the moment was tenser, thick with inevitable confrontation. "Hey, Mia," I called out, my voice stronger than I felt. She turned, and in that instant I saw the confusion flicker across her face as if she wasn't sure whether she should jump off or run away. "What do you want, Harper?" she snapped, her voice sharper than I remembered, tinged with bitterness. Anger bubbled beneath the surface, threatening to overflow. "I want to talk," I said, stepping closer, feeling the gravel crunch beneath my shoes. "I think we need to clear the air." My legs felt like jelly, but I pushed forward despite the doubt gnawing at me. "Clear the air?" she scoffed, her dark hair catching the evening breeze. "What's there to talk about? You think it's just all going to magically be okay again?" "It's not about being okay," I shouted, the frustration spilling out of me like a broken dam. "You know what you did. You took everything from me, and you owe me an explanation." The rawness in my voice surprised me. I had promised myself I would remain composed. She jumped down from the train car, brushing off the dust from her hands. "You think I owe you something? You think this is about you? Your life was perfect, Harper. You had it all, but I had to make choices to survive. You don't know what it's like to be me." Her eyes were blazing, tears pooling like molten glass in the corners. "You dare try to twist this on me?" A rush of fury surged through me. "I came to you as a friend, I helped you when you were struggling." Memories of nights spent waiting for her to come home flooded back. "I never once judged you, Mia, but you went behind my back." She rolled her eyes, her brows knitting together in disbelief. "Oh, please, you were already having the greatest time of your life. You never had to scrape by. You and Adam, perfect little people, living in your perfect little world. You have no idea what it cost me to get where I am now." "You think you deserved him?" I shot back, my body tense with the weight of betrayal. "You think sleeping with another girl's boyfriend makes it a fair trade? It was never about the money or the struggles, Mia. It was about trust. You shattered it." The words contained a heaviness that hung between us like a sword on a thread. "That is so easy for you to say," she yelled, stepping forward, her voice echoing in the hollow space around us. "I was fighting demons you couldn't even begin to understand. You were so caught up in your perfect little life with Adam, what did you even care? You would rather play it safe. I saw my opportunity and I took it. You can't deny that, can you?" Her accusations hung in the air, thick as the clouds building up above us. I wanted to scream, to make her understand how she had crossed lines I never thought she would. "You think this is about Adam? It's not. It never was. It was about you shattering our friendship. You broke me when you did that." My voice shook not with rage, but with a strange vulnerability I hadn't expected to admit. For a moment, Mia's expression softened, confusion and guilt blending with anger in a chaos of emotions. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Harper. At least not like that. I never thought of you as anything but the perfect one. I made a mistake. A mistake that cost me everything." I felt the tears welling in my eyes, blurring my vision but refusing to spill. "You don't get to play the victim here. You chose this over me. You made your decision. You could have talked to me first. Instead, you plotted behind my back." She stepped back, a defensive stance creeping into her posture. "You've never even tried to understand me. All you do is judge. There was no one else to turn to." I was right there. I gestured wildly, encompassing the weight of our years together, all the memories blending together like paint on a canvas. "I would have understood. You could have told me. Friends don't do this to each other, Mia. You betrayed me on every possible level. The whole world is about betrayal, Harper. You are so naive," she shouted. "You think everyone has your perfect little life? Nothing, absolutely nothing, is as simple as you think it is. If you truly felt what you say you do, you would see my side." "Your side?" A painful laugh escaped me. "You think I can sympathize with that? You tore apart the one thing I never thought I would lose." I exploded, feeling raw and exposed. "You were my sister, Mia. A friend is supposed to lift you up, not tear you down." "Don't do this, you're being dramatic," she flared, her body trembling with the tenuous grip on her words. "Dramatic?" I said incredulously. "I'm standing here, pouring my heart out. What do you want me to do? Wave a magic wand and make it all go away?" The tension in the air crackled like electricity. The noise of the world outside dimmed to a quiet hum. "I saw you with him. I saw it. You didn't just steal my boyfriend, you stole my trust, and I can't just stand here and pretend it doesn't hurt. Mia, can't you see how selfish this is?" I tried to catch my breath, feeling as though I was on the edge of a precipice, my heart pounding hotly against my chest. "I came here to confront you because I wanted some kind of closure, but all you do is shift the blame." I stared at her, frustration and betrayal coiling tight within me. "I thought we could fix this, that we could at least have an honest conversation." Fix this, she cried, shaking her head, the corners of her mouth turning down defensively. It feels broken beyond repair. Do you realize what it means when someone betrays you? I don't know if I can even trust you now. Trust. I echoed, the word hanging like a pendulum. I came here to face you. This is a chance. We could try to build something again, but if you can't see that, maybe we're already too far gone. I swallowed hard, feeling a lump in my throat crawling upward, the weight of our history heavy on my shoulders. The silence stretched on, thick and suffocating, wrapped around us in an unbroken spell. I wanted to shake some sense into her, to break through the walls she had built around herself, but I could feel her resolve hardening like stone. I don't need your pity, Harper, she finally said, her voice quiet but resolute. You want me to apologize, but I don't think I owe you that. Maybe not, I snapped back, the words out before I could stop them. But know this, whatever you think you've gained, it's not going to fill the void of our friendship, no matter what you did. You'll always be the girl who stole my life? She blinked rapidly, her expression shifting from anger to something softer. You're right, she nearly whispered, the fight seeping out from her voice. But it is what it is, and I don't even know if I want it back. The past feels so far away, Harper. As the chill of evening settled around us, enveloping the space between us in an unyielding darkness, I felt a tremor within my heart. As much as I was filled with rage, a part of me longed for the sisterhood we had created, an unshakable bond we had pledged to each other in our wildest dreams. But now it was merely ashes, and I knew deep down that we both had changed irrevocably. So what now, Mia? I asked softly, the weariness of the last confrontation draining my anger away, leaving only a feeling of melancholy. Is this it? Have we both walked away and just pretended none of it mattered? What do we even do with this? I don't know, she mumbled, her gaze dropping to the ground in front of her. I don't want to spend the rest of my life feeling trapped by decisions I made. I want to find peace, Harper. Peace? I echoed, a bitter laugh escaping my trembling lips. Is that what you think you can find? You won't find it like this. You will always be searching until it consumes you whole? I closed my eyes, the weight of inequities taking hold in my heart, refusing to budge. Slowly, she stepped closer, her face a mask of uncertainty. What if we choose to start over? Different people? Different lives? She looked lost, vulnerable, like a child wandering too far away from home. It hurt seeing her like this, a phantom of who we used to be. Do we even know how? I found myself whispering, my voice a fragile thread in the still air. The distance engulfing us seemed impossibly vast, a chasm between what was and might be, yet hope flickered faintly, like a lighthouse light flashing in a storm. Maybe we could find a way, but first we had to confront the ghosts we had created after everything had crumbled. Before I could answer, Mia reached for my hand, her fingers brushing against mine, and for a heartbeat, the memories surged forward. Two girls laughing in abandoned train yards, chasing sunset dreams. If you can forgive me, she said softly, maybe we can start to rebuild what we lost. I miss you, Harper. I hesitated, a flood of emotions crashing over me, pushing against my resolve like waves against a rock. I don't know, Mia, I whispered, my heart caught between the past and the unfamiliar territory ahead. But the spark in her eyes, a hint of desperation, ignited something in me. A step toward forgiveness felt like stepping into a storm, but I had to try. The past could not quietly fade away without scars, but maybe I could learn to accept the storm within. As I grasped her hand, a fragile bond tinged with uncertainty lingered between us, but it was there, pulsing with potential. Underneath the swirling bruises of sunset and shadows growing long, I breathed in deeply, my heart. For the first time, willing itself to open again, I stood outside the old Riverview Theater, the cold air biting at my cheeks as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple. It had been a long week since I had put my plan into motion, each day dragging by as I waited for this moment. The once vibrant marquee was faded, the letters peeling at the edges, but it felt fitting for my next act. Tonight was not just a night of revenge, it was a night of closure. Are you sure about this? A familiar voice drifted from behind me. I turned to see Ella, my best friend since childhood, her brows knitted with concern. Her dark curls bounced with each step, her brown eyes wide and searching. I have to do this, Ella. It is the only way I can truly move on, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt inside. My heart raced, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within me. Anger, fear, excitement, all intertwined, tugging at my insides. But what if it backfires? What if they retaliate? Her voice wavered, and I could hear the worry lacing her words. She had been my anchor through all of this, but I could see her frustration growing. Her hands fidgeted in her pockets, and I could tell she was trying to balance her concern for me with her growing dread. I took a deep breath, inhaling the crisp evening air. I am not afraid of retaliation. I am ready for whatever comes next. The worst thing they can do is remind me of the past, and I am done living in its shadow. I brushed a hand through my hair, feeling the tension in my shoulders. Ella stepped forward, her expression softening. Just promise me you will be careful. You may be ready for the past, but that does not mean it is ready for you. You are strong, Harper, but strength is not just about being brave. It is about knowing when to step back. I nodded, her words sinking into my mind like stones in a pond. I promise I'll be careful, but I also have to be smart. They need to see that I am not the same girl they pushed around. This is my chance. As I turned back to face the theater, its dilapidated facade mirrored my emotions, a battle-worn exterior shrouded in nostalgia. I could feel the prickling of memories as images of my teenage self flooded my mind. Laughter echoed against the walls, a time when innocence masked the pain that would later surface. I thought about them, Chase, Margot, Ed, and how their laughter was often at my expense. Are you ready? Ella asked, her hand resting lightly on my arm as if to anchor me. I could see the flicker of hope in her eyes, the silent wish that this would end well. I took another deep breath, tightening my jaw as I felt the determination solidify within me. Let's do this. With a resolute nod, I pushed open the heavy theater door. The hinges creaked in protest, and the darkness swallowed me whole as I stepped inside, letting the warmth of the building wash over me. I let my eyes adjust to the dim light, the faded upholstery of the seats, and the dusty air hanging like thick fog. The smell of stale popcorn clung to the air, mixed with the musty scent of the theater's age. The theater was nearly empty, the lonely seats eerily silent. A few patrons lingered, maybe to catch a late-night show or reminisce about the glory days of the Riverview Theater. I spotted them immediately, Chase and Margot, comfortably sprawled across the front row. They were oblivious to my presence, engrossed in their conversation. Chase's laugh was boisterous, and Margot's head tilted back, her blonde hair cascading over the seat. They were just as I remembered, carefree and wrapped in their world, a world I had never been part of. Ella lingered close, her breath shaky with anticipation. Harper, you don't have to do this, she murmured, but I could see the determination in her gaze. She wanted me to stand up for myself, to take the leap and fight back, even if it put me at risk. I stepped forward, my heart pounding in my chest as the ambience shifted. The sound of laughter faded and several heads turned. The scene felt surreal, like I was stepping into a movie where the protagonist confronts her past. I approached them slowly, the heavy silence pressing down on me. Chase, Margot, I said, my voice slicing through the stillness. Their heads snapped in my direction, surprise painted across their faces, but there was an underlying current of discomfort that electrified the air. Harper. What are you doing here? Chase's casual tone barely disguised his confusion. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, a small twitch of recognition passing across his features. I wanted to talk to you both, face to face, I replied, steadying my voice. Every syllable felt like a step forward, crawling over the years of rage and hurt. The corner of Margot's mouth curled into a smirk, the same condescending expression I had loathed for so long. Talk, about what? How we made you cry in high school. She scoffed, her disinterest evident. We thought you moved on from that. I clenched my fists, my pulse racing. Funny you should mention that, Margot, because I think you both need to hear exactly how I have moved on. I drew myself up, finding strength in my vulnerability as I realized that this moment was not about them, but about me reclaiming my story. Chase shifted uncomfortably, his bravado dwindling as he glanced over at Margot. Come on, Harper, we were just kids. You cannot hold that against us forever. Kids, I echoed, feeling the heat rise in my chest. You thought it was funny to humiliate me in front of everyone. You made my life miserable day in and day out, and you think I should just forget, just move on? That was a long time ago, Margot interjected, rolling her eyes. You need to get over it. It is not that big of a deal. But it was a big deal to me. I shot back, my voice growing louder. You both were supposed to be my friends, but instead you turned my life into a nightmare. Your cruelty still echoes in my mind. It shaped who I was growing up. It impacted my confidence, my friendships, everything. The silence that followed was palatable, and I could see the realization dawning on their faces. They had never considered my side, my hurt, or the impact their actions had left on me. They had dismissed my pain as if it were trivial, swept under the rug with a carefree laugh. Harper, we honestly didn't think it mattered. It was just teasing, Chase finally admitted, his tone hesitant. People get teased, it happens, you were different. Different? I scoffed, disbelief surging through my veins. Is that your excuse, that I deserved it because I was different? No, I was just me, and I had every right to be comfortable in my own skin. But you guys made that impossible. You made me hate who I was. Margot shifted in her seat, and for the first time I saw uncertainty flicker in her eyes. I didn't know it affected you like that. Her voice trembled, and I could see the facade begin to crack. Well, it did, I replied, feeling a mix of vindication and sorrow wash over me. I had come here for revenge, but I realized I also wanted to be heard. I wanted acknowledgement, an admission that what they had done had real consequences. You tore me down, and it took years for me to piece myself back together. I wanted you to see the damage you caused. Chase sighed heavily, his brows knitting together as he seemed to grapple with his thoughts. I wish I could take it back. I really do. I was a dumb kid trying to fit in. I never thought it hurt you that badly. Maybe you should have thought before you acted. I crossed my arms, releasing a breath that felt heavy with years of pent up frustration. You never learned because no one ever made you face it. You never had to deal with the consequences of your actions. Until now. Margot opened her mouth to speak, but my words came tumbling out, fueled by an emotion I never expected to feel. And you know what? This is my closure. I want you to remember who I am now. I am not that weak girl anymore. I've grown, and I refuse to let you belittle my past anymore. Chase leaned forward in his seat, an earnestness in his gaze. What do you want from us, Harper? We can't change the past, but we can apologize. I glanced at Ella, and she stood behind me, unwavering. She believed in me, and that was enough. I want you both to think about your actions. I want you to think about the words you choose to say, how they can affect someone else. Think about being better, not just for me, but for everyone else you come into contact with. Margot looked down, the bravado slipping away entirely. You're right. I never thought it could hurt so much. I'm sorry, Harper. I genuinely am. I never meant to hurt you. I blinked in surprise, the sincerity hitting me harder than I had anticipated. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. I have spent too long hating you both instead of freeing myself from the shackles of that hate. Chase nodded, his expression softening. Yeah, I am sorry too. I was a jerk. I wanted to hang with the popular kids. It was all dumb. And I never thought about the fallout. Maybe this didn't need to lead to revenge after all. Maybe the best revenge was living well and shedding the chains that had once burdened me. It is done, I whispered, feeling lighter with every word that passed my lips. You both need to do better. That is all I want in return. Margot's eyes glimmered with something unnameable as she nodded. I will. We will? I took a step back, a wave of relief washing over me. It was not over in the traditional sense. There were no dramatic confessions or breaking points. Instead, I had unearthed the truth buried deep within the bones of my past. Thank you both for listening. I hope you take this with you. I am ready to move forward, and I hope you can be better too. As I turned away, Ella fell into step beside me, her presence soothing. You did it, Harper. You confronted them. You spoke your truth. Some weight lifted, but the wreckage of my memories still lingered in the corners of my mind, a bittersweet reminder of everything I had endured, but it no longer held power over me. I could face my tomorrow with a renewed spirit. I didn't even think I could feel that way, Ella. I thought I wanted revenge, but what I wanted was release, I said, my voice barely a whisper as we stepped outside into the chill of the evening air. Expecting to feel exhilarated, I was surprised to find a profound sense of peace replacing the anger I had nurtured for so long. Ella smiled at me, pride shining in her gaze. You found your strength in moving on. That is everything. You deserve this new beginning, Harper. With the theater behind me, its darkness now fading into a mere echo, I stepped towards the future, bright, uncharted, and filled with endless potential.